All right, on your paper it says 480 to 484, but I'm going to go 477 to 484 because I haven't actually taught this, but I do have notes on it. And I think that's why I was thinking that, but I'm going to go over it anyway. Um, and so we were talking about ecosystems and how they're broken down in the levels of ecology. So the biosphere means where life exists, all right, the biosphere. And it's divided into the atmosphere, which is air, atmosphere, air, they both start with A. Lithosphere, which is land, they both start with L. And then hydrosphere, hydro means water. So all of this should be fairly easy to remember, at least if you could put it together in a matching section, it would be easier. So that's biosphere where life is down here on this earth. And then those biospheres are divided into biomes. And you can look at the top of page 477, see these levels of ecology. Biomes are divided based upon their climax or main type of vegetation, plants, trees, that kind of thing, and also their climax community, which would mean their main type of animals and that kind of thing. So you've got climax vegetation, climax community. That's what tells you what a biome would be. All right. So a biome is broken down to biome, community, population, organism. All right. So biome, community, what did I say? Population, organism. All right. So we've already talked about organism. So that would be one single individual animal. All right. So of course, I have lots of hunters in this class, so we're going to go with the white-tailed deer again. And so we have one white-tailed deer. All right. That's a single organism. All right. So then you break it up into the population. That is all of the white-tailed deer in that biome. All right, so let's say 2,000 in that biome, or probably more like 100,000, depending upon what the biome is. Right, so then you break it up even farther, and that would be its community, not just the population of the white-tailed deer, but also what lives in that biome. So all the living things in that biome would make up its community. All right, so the white-tailed deer would have, be running around with rabbits and raccoons and coyotes and black bear around here, and eagles and sugar maples. you know, the possibilities are endless in its community, and it's very diverse. There's a lot of biodiversity within that community there. And then you go up even farther to, like I said before, into the biome. All right. So biome, then that has all the climax vegetation, all the climax community there, and then you go down to the community, all the living things in the ecosystem, and then you go into the population, all the living things of one type of animal or plant or species of things, and then one single one would be your organism there. All right, so if you look at the different biomes, this is what I would have notes on for you there. You've got the tundra, that's the first major biome there that we can see, and that's where the permafrost is rare. I'm sorry, the permafrost is there, and that's the top 2 to 3 feet. It's pretty much frozen, and nothing can grow there. And so you get up to a certain point and you reach the tree line, and nothing grows beyond that tree line. And that would be in the tundra. We also have the alpine tundra, where it's not necessarily permafrost, but it stays frozen long enough to where it doesn't grow a lot of anything up there either. Then you have the forest zones. Look on 478. You have the boreal forest there, sometimes known as the taiga. And you can see on page 478 the different types there. So we went from the polar to the tundra, the boreal forest. That's that dark green color on page 478. And conifers are going to be the dominant vegetation. Remember we talked about climax vegetation? Conifers would be the climax vegetation when you're talking about the boreal forest there. Then you have the temperate, and sometimes people call it the northern coniferous forest, but It's technically the boreal forest. All right, then you have the temperate deciduous forest, which is where we live, in temperate climates, and mostly deciduous trees and some conifers. And then you have the grasslands. The grasslands are known as the Pampas in Argentina, the steppes of Russia, the Great Plains of North America, savannas of Africa, Australia, South America. So they're called different things, different places, but they're all considered grasslands. And when you think of grasslands, don't just think of grass. Think of that grass family. We're talking plains of barley and wheat and rye and rice and corn and bamboo and all of those types of grasses, and those are considered grasslands. That's that climax vegetation there. And then, of course, deserts. Deserts lose water more through evaporation than they do precipitation, so they're the driest biomes of the world. And then you have the tropical rainforest, and that is opposite. It's near the equator, hot, humid, abundant rainfall, and lots of variety of plants and animals there. All right, those are all considered land or lithosphere kind of biomes. And then you have aquatic biomes, which are just two, which are easy. You've got freshwater, and then which are lakes, streams, rivers, and so on and so forth, ponds. And then you have saltwater or marine water, a marine ecosystem. And that's a water ecosystem with a certain percentage of salt, and that is going to be your seas and your oceans. And there. And so you can see the different zones and how they run there on page 481. On 482, we're going to talk a little bit about decomposing and how things will kind of decompose there a little bit. An autotroph is something that makes its own food. Auto meaning self. And so what would that be? If something makes its own food in this world, it would be a plant, right? So all plants are considered autotrophs. Then you have heterotrophs. Those actually are consumers, and they need to gain their food somehow by eating something else. Now, we fix our food, but that doesn't mean we actually make it. We don't make it inside of our bodies. We actually go out and get it somehow. And so that would be mainly animals, people, that kind of stuff. And you have different types of feeding relationships. You have a scavenger, which is something that kind of feeds on dead animals. You have decomposers or detritivores. Those are eating and decomposing things like earthworms and ants and shrimp and all of that. Then you have saprophytes. Those feed on dead and decaying plant and organic matter there that we're talking about, those guys. All right, then you have a food chain and a food web. All right, a food chain goes from the bottom to the top. So let's take an eagle eating a bunny rabbit eating alfalfa. All right, okay, let's even put in a coyote in there somewhere, okay? So that would be kind of that whole food chain. It might only be 2 or 3 things, but it might be 3 or 4, 5. Then you have a food web, and a food web is something that shows all the possible feeding relationships within an ecosystem. The mice eating frogs, or the mice eating insects, and the frogs eating those same insects, and then the insects living on the plants, but the frogs might eat something off of the plants, or the mice might use the plant or eat it there. The rabbits eating the plants, the snakes eating the rabbits, the snakes eating the mice, that eats the plants, that eats the insects, that eats the frogs eat that, either way. Then you've got the hawk that comes down and can kind of swoop down and get any of it, except that it really doesn't want plants because, why would it put up with that, right? And then you also have, just a second, come say hi to 7th grade.
Hello.
He just said dinner is served.
Dinner's ready.
I can't complain about it messing up my video.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. I'm almost done. All right. So anyway, an energy pyramid. It actually on page 484 talks about the energy that is obtained as it eats. So the lion eating whatever it may eat. I'm looking here to see what exactly, oh, like a caribou or something there. It's obtaining the energy from the caribou. The caribou eating the grass, and it's obtaining energy from the grass. And so it's showing an energy pyramid and how that works. You can see that at the top of page 484. Notes also on this page, I'm putting those up so you can see them. Please go over them, look at them so you understand them. Since I'm hitting this rather quickly. But symbiosis is where things are living together, all right, and it's showing their feeding relationships or how they're living together. Predation, easy. It's a predator and a prey relationship, an eagle eating a mouse, any of that kind of thing. Mutualism is actually positive, and mutual, you think of, oh, mutual, so that kind of has a positive connotation there. And mutualism is a type where both organisms benefit there. So when we talked about dairy ants and aphids, and then milking the aphids and getting that and all that, they both benefit there. You can read about that. Commensalism is where one organism benefits and the other one, it's not helped or harmed. Whereas in parasitism, one organism benefits, but the other one is harmed because it's robbing it of its nutrition there. They can see you in the mirror. Stop. All right. And so then you have competition where they're competing for the same resources. You guys understand that. And then neutralism. This is just where they just share indirect contact. So lions passing through the savanna grasses, that's basically the idea there. And then be sure to read Man's Role in the Environment, page 486, page 488. And basically the difference between modern environmentalism and biblical Christian conservatism as far as how, and we've talked about it a little bit before, how important it is for us to take care of our environment, but also use it. God told us to use it, and that's important for us to be able to use it for our benefit, but also, sorry, my children, but also making sure that we replenish whatever it is that we use. All right, so that finishes 7th grade science for you guys. Make sure you do your reading, your section reviews, finish it all up like you're supposed to. And then you will not have a study guide this time. You'll actually just have your final exam to be able to have. I'm going to put a paper copy of that at the school, so if you want to have that, you can have it, or you can print it out. I'll put it all up on Teams as well. So I hope you have a wonderful summer. I miss you guys, and hopefully if you guys are driving by my house, see if I'm home or whatever, holler at me, because I miss seeing you guys. And I hope you have a wonderful summer, and hopefully you can get out soon.